I'm Jean Nolte, editor at Fons & Porter.
And I'm Colleen Tauke. I'm the sewing specialist with Fons & Porter. In this Sew Easy, we're going to show you how to create quick hourglass units.
Okay, this is a great technique for accurate piecing. And you're going to start with 2 squares, and one is light, one is dark. And the squares you start with will be 1.25 inches larger than the finished unit you want. So if it finishes at 3 inches, you will cut your squares 4.25 inches. Okay, you take 1 light square, 1 dark square, right sides together. And now I'm going to make a mark. So I take my 1/4 inch seam marker.
Great little tool for getting an accurate seam allowance marked on there.
Right, put that yellow line from corner to corner so it goes exactly through the corner. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm drawing that pretty heavy so it'll be visible on each side.
You can use a water-soluble marker or a pencil at this point. That way, later it will disappear.
Those are your stitching lines. Now, if you don't have the 1/4 inch seam marker, you could draw a line from corner to corner and then draw another line 1/4 inch away on each side.
Exactly. The little 1/4 inch seam tool is a great investment, though.
Yes, and they come in 2 sizes. I'm using the smaller one today, but there's a longer one also if you have larger blocks.
And to ensure that our blocks won't slide apart, I've just placed a couple of pins there to hold everything in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch right following that pencil or that marked line, maybe just to the inside of that line if you can line it up. Because as we later will show you when we open it up, we want to have that triangle square to be very accurate. Take up your pins as you approach them. And you can cut thread at the end, but you can come in and raise the presser foot and skip to the other side of the block. And
So you don't have to cut that thread, that's
right,
nice.
and then come back up the other side.
Now you could chain piece more than 1 pair of these. If you had a bunch of them, you could sew both sides of one and then
go on
feed
to
the next one in, but we're just
Exactly.
going to do one for now.
Okay.
All right, so
It's stitched,
I'm
ready
going
for you to cut.
cut that. I am using a ruler and rotary cutter, and I'm just using the ruler just to kind of keep it accurate. It doesn't matter because your seam is in the correct place. So now we're going to press these toward the dark.
And as you see, we're going to open up. We'll have, she's got one to press, and I've got one here that'll be next one in line. Make sure that you press seam allowance all the way open to get all the way up to the stitching line.
All right, I'll press that other one, and maybe you can trim these little corners off.
Sounds perfect. Come in. And these little triangles at the, that extend beyond the block, we just use the tip of the scissors and snip those away. It will help with when you're lining up and you're going to match those pieces to another block later, and so you won't have those extra thickness up there.
All right, so now we've made triangle squares, and we're going
Clean
to
up.
take these 2 triangle squares and put them right sides together and opposite fabrics facing. So I'm going to put the dark on top of the light and the light on top of the dark. Line them up.
Once I get them together, I usually take one more little peek and look under, make sure that everybody's opposing. Good.
Okay, because otherwise you won't have hourglass units
You
there.
won't.
Now we're going to do the same thing we did with the plain squares. Put the 1/4 inch seam marker with the line right through the corner.
Our marking is going to create an X in the center of our block. You'll see where the
Okay,
seam allowance
I'm
is
going,
at.
yes, I'm going across the seam that you just sewed. Okay, so there's your sewing lines.
Now, when you're creating an hourglass block, and we'll take a peek here, we want that intersection to be so the
Nice
piece,
and crisp.
almost like kissing points there. And so we push them.
You can
Feel
feel them
with your
nest
fingers,
together.
exactly.
Yes.
And that's the place I always like to put a pin so that everybody stays.
And since we pressed both of the triangle squares toward the dark, they will nest perfectly.
Yes. And we're going to get this really sweet hourglass block when we're done. Again, we're going to sew just to the inside of that marked line.
This is really just exactly the same thing you did making the triangle squares. You're
You
just
can really
sewing across the seam you've already
Yep.
sewn.
You're going to perfect that skill by repeating it. It's a great way to pattern your mind, and then you will have really accurate pieces.
The nice thing about these is, you know, hourglass blocks look like they're all triangles, but you only have to cut squares, and it's much more accurate than cutting 4 little triangles and sewing them together to make an hourglass unit.
I really wouldn't want to make an hourglass unit
Especially
that
if
way.
they're kind of small like this.
Yes, they'd be hard to handle, and that's a lot of triangles.
So once again, we're going to just cut that apart.
We do own scissors. We can use scissors, but rotary cutter is right there.
I
We
just
usually
like to use my rotary
tend to
cutter.
pick it up and use it right away.
And when we open these up, we'll have 2 hourglass units, and you can press the seam either way on these. And there you go, 2 hourglass units.
Nice sweet point in the center.
Beautiful.
Thanks for joining us today.
For more Sew Easy videos, go to fonsandporter.com.